So when you finally got to university, you have a funny story about a certain professor.
I got several.
Oh, but the one. Let's just call him Dickerson.
Dickerson. Albert.
Yes, Albert Dickerson.
I don't know if my voice is prepared to do a proper Albert impression.
But we're gonna try. But
I'm gonna lose Yoshi first, because fuck that guy.
Well, no, here's the thing. You can't talk about this professor while you have Yoshi.
But, so he was from somewhere in Africa, like legit. Like he was from Kenya
Straight
or
up
something.
Africa.
Straight up out of Africa.
Like Shaft.
The mean streets. And he must have had a stroke or something, because he had no business teaching, especially an engineering class. An upper level, fucking junior level engineering class. And he didn't really have a speaking volume. He only had a yelling volume. All he did was yell. And so we'd come in and he'd go, "Hello, my friends." You know what another problem is? It's a little late. And so I can't give it the proper volume that it deserves.
That's true.
But
That's true.
"My friend, I'll just do it low like this." And keep in mind that whenever I do that, it's yelling.
It's fucking mega speakers.
And so the first day of class, he just starts teaching. He doesn't even really go over the syllabus. He hands the syllabus out, and then he just starts teaching. And he's talking about diodes. And he goes, "What do diodes do? What do diodes do?" And then he points at someone seemingly at random, and he says, "You! I know your face. I know you know what diodes do." And he gave a fairly reasonable answer, something like, "Oh, well, they're like unidirectional for current. The current only goes one way." And he goes, "Yes, but they go on and off, and 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 on and off." And he just, for a flat minute at least, just said on and off over and over and over and over, to the point where we started looking at each other like, do we have to call somebody? Like, is he broken? What do we... I've never had this situation where a professor just said 3 words over and over again. I don't know what to do. So eventually he stopped. He just went on and off, as if nothing weird had happened. And then just went on, and I went forward, and those things actually hit you twice.
Write that down.
Write that down. They hit you twice. It's important. I really don't like these things, and that's why I'm not doing the level that's just full of them. Because that level's full of it.
Fuck that shit.
And he was just like, he was also just not good. Like, maybe you might not realize it from the fact that he, like, just couldn't realize that he was saying the same words for a minute straight, but he had a hard time, like, keeping a thought in his head. Like, you would ask him a question, and he would just start explaining something else. And then when he was done explaining that thing he decided to explain, he'd be like, "Did that answer your question? Did that answer your question? Do you know what's happening now?" And the person would say, "No." And then he would explain a different thing. And it was unrelated to either the thing the guy had asked or the thing he explained before. It had nothing to do with either.
That's fantastic.
And then again, and eventually you stopped asking. And eventually you just said, "Yeah, I get it now." And he moved on as if nothing had happened. What else? He fucking loved vending machines. And I mean, to some extent, like, coming over here from Africa, I could understand the initial appeal of this magical machine that you press buttons and a thing comes out. But 20, 30 years later, he still had not gotten over them. And he was to the point, he was like, "Have you ever seen a vending machine?" And we were like, "There's 3, like, right out there. They're literally from the door. I can see vending machines." Like, yeah, we know what vending machines are. And then he explained to us how vending machines worked, but not like the way an engineer might, like the inner guts and like what you do. He just told us how to operate a vending machine. He's like, "First you choose what you want, okay? You figure it out. And then you put in the money, how much money it tells you how much money it is for on the front. And then you pick the thing that you want, and it gives it to you."
Wow.
And it's a vending machine.
It's like fucking
All
magic.
of you, if you have never used a vending machine, you must use it. For this class, you must use a vending machine.
It's gonna be on the test.
You know, it was. We had to learn how they actually work, though. He never explained how they actually worked, but he asked on a test how they actually worked. So, like, first he asked on homework how they actually worked, and so that was our opportunity to go look it up, because he never told us. And then we were ready for the test. Speaking of tests, the first test, everyone got an 85. Everyone in the whole class got an 85. And it wasn't... like, it added up when you went through. You had lost 15 points worth of questions, but it was different for everyone. And my friend Sam, who was also in that class with me, was kind of freaking out. He's like, I know I got this question right. Did you get it right? I'm like, oh yeah, I got 100% on it. Let me see what you did. We had written down the exact same thing. Like, maybe he missed one word that wasn't, like, super consequential in explaining it.
Boom!
So, here's the question. Is Albert just this Machiavellian fucking puppet master that ahead of time went, I'm going to give all these people 85, and specifically engineered every test wherever he could to make it hit 85? Or did a pattern emerge from the chaotic storm in his mind, and at complete random, he happened to give everyone 85?
That's one of life's great mysteries. I'll
never know.
We'll
There's
never
a sunken
know.
ship that appears to be a gateway to the Valley of Bowser.
Oh, shit.
On my way out of that university, my department had a little quiz, and they were like, voice any concerns you have. And I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be anonymous, but who fucking knows? And I just ragged on Albert. I just ragged on him. I gave him like 2 full paragraphs of how awful the class was, how I learned literally everything I learned from that class were Google searches that I had to do to complete the homework, and how he couldn't, like, he'd never answered any question, all this. And the next semester I heard that he had retired, and I was like, I hope it was me. I hope I was the one.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this will happen. But then I heard that the following semester he was teaching a class again. And here's what I like to believe. I like to believe he forgot he was retired and just wandered into a classroom and started teaching it, and no one had the heart to tell him that he wasn't teaching anymore. And that's how it continues to this day.
There you go. Look at all these fucking ghosts.
And those are a few select memories of Dr. Albert. And he was a doctor, too. He had a doctorate.
Professor Doctor.
Professor Albert.
Ironically, he was not fat, though, was he?
Oh, he was pretty fat.
So he was Fat Albert.
He was Fat Albert. I mean, he wasn't as Fat Albert, but just looking at him, like, he was fat.
Jesus.
Yeah, that went a bit high. I mean, there's something going on in here.
What it is ain't exactly clear.
No, there's a man with a gun over there
That's true.
telling me I gotta stand clear.
Yeah. Or beware.
That ghost is having the time of his life, and there he goes.
Is.
There's another one.
That ghost is a cunning linguist.
I mean, I like to believe so. Okay, see this? I like this.
There you go.
You could never do this in Mario Maker because you can't have vertical levels. Levels. Oh, I want that, but I can't have it.
Ruffles have ridges, you know.
Ruffles have levels.
That's true. They have levels.
I have been taking Russian on Duolingo, so that might legitimately be my brain short-circuiting a little bit.
You got too many R's and L's happening.
Boom. No other level in the entire game ends with a question mark circle like that. But that question mark circle, I'm pretty sure, is how you beat forts in Mario 3 when you fight Boom Boom.
Well, what the fort is that all about?
And you can see it's a sunken ship. Maybe it's a sunken airship.
Oh.
Oh.
Shit.
So see, if I could beat that fort there on the right,
yeah,
you could go into the back door, skip all of Bowser's Castle and the 7th Castle, but that fort is harder than all of those levels combined.
Oh, shit. I'm
going to briefly try to skip from the ghost house to the 7th Castle, but that's also a bit of a bitch. And here's a Mega Mole, and he's just stuck in here forever.
This poor guy. Poor guys. You know what? Can you imagine what his life must be like day to day?
I can't even kill him. I can't even put him out of his misery.
No.
He reminds me of Mitch Hedberg.
It's the Mitch Hedberg mole.
It's the Mitch Mole.
It's Mitch Mohlberg.
And he can,
Oh,
if you touch his
Jesus.
nose, if you get impatient and try to jump past the Mega Mole, you can hit his nose.
And die. There's football Todd again.
Yep, there's quarterback Bill.
Yep.
Jesse,
Yes.
since we're in the Professor Caverns,
Uh-oh.
what's the funniest Professor story you have?
You know, I don't know. My experiences were rather tame. I didn't really get any professors that were fucking super just batshit crazy or like absolute assholes. I had some that were kind of assholes, and I had some that were really cool, but they weren't cool in like a really kooky way. We took existentialism together at
We
the
did.
community college that was called Community College. That was his
That's
name.
where we met.
That's
That's
true
our
story.
origin story.
There's actually a comic book, a mini series for that.
We got bit by a radioactive Mormon.
Jesus, that's true. Because his teacher was Mormon. That's right.
And radioactive.
Well, kind of. He was a good guy. He wasn't kooky enough.
Yeah.
I don't have any crazy stories. My
Honestly, in that class, I was the crazy story.
Absolutely. Corey never slept, so he would come to class just fucking wrecked on sleeplessness.
Almost always I had been up for 24 hours before that class, because that's just kind of how my schedule had worked out.
So when I first met Corey, I thought that he was much weirder than he is. Don't get me wrong, he's weird as fuck, but he was even weirder because he was just incoherent on sleep, lack of sleep.
Once I read one of the homeworks 3 lines at a time. Like I would scan with my eyes and read 3 lines simultaneously.
That's
something you can only do when you've been awake for 24 hours. That's
I
a
guess.
superpower.
I can't even read one line when I've been awake for that long. I can't. I am non-functional if I don't have enough sleep.
I remember once he asked us how we stayed grounded, and I tried to explain, and it is true, but I never would have tried to explain it if I wasn't tired. I tried to explain that sometimes I'll take an item, like a water bottle, and I will hold it as lightly as I possibly can until I can feel the Earth's gravity pulling on it. And that just kind of puts things in perspective, because I'm like, wow, there's like a whole Earth. There's this whole giant thing underneath me pulling on this bottle, and I'm just on it. Isn't that crazy? And he had no fucking idea what I was saying. And he tried to lift his bottle, and he put it back down, and he just kind of went, okay, like I was the crazy one, because I was.
That's true. Well, he was just an English professor.
Yeah, he was just an old Mormon.
Oh, jeez. That's racist.
It is.
Football Todd. Yeah, I gotta disappoint the audience, though. I have no crazy professor stories to recount.
Here is my favorite moment from existentialism, and it didn't even happen in the class. One of the first weeks, our homework assignment was to go say hello to a stranger, and just go talk to a stranger. Which is maybe not, the safest homework to have.
Sure.
But that was part of the point, is that the fact that we thought it was not the safest homework to have said something about us. And so I was like, fuck that. I'm going to go give a stranger a high five. And it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to tell the class all about it, and I'm going to be real cool. And I just, for a week, because it was like over the weekend was the homework, and I was just looking for like someone who would appreciate a high five, because you can't just give a fucking high five to any Tom, Dick, or Harry.
That's dangerous.
No. When it's not just dangerous, they might not appreciate it. You give them a high five, and they'll just go about the day. Like, fuck that. You know what it was? Is I had recently had a stranger high five experience. Because I still to this day, I don't know what the situation was. I was walking to class, and this big, lanky, 7-foot-tall black guy who looked vaguely like Will Smith, he just saw me, and he went, "Hey, you, up top," and held his hand up for a high five. And I looked to my left and to my right, because there was a lot of people around, and he went, "Yeah, you." And I'm like, I guess he's talking to me. And so I jumped up and high-fived him, and he looked surprised. And then I just didn't look back, but heard from behind me the Arsenio Hall woo, woo, woo noise. And I just kept walking. And you know what? Who knows what happened? Who knows what I did to who that day?
You might have made that guy's year.
It's possible. Anyway, that was my inspiration later to give a stranger a high five, because he had given that gift to me. And so I found him. I was like, that guy knows what a high five's all about, and I'm going to give it to him. And I raised my hand up, missing an arm. And it was the same arm that he would have had to raise to give the high five.
That's fucked.
Now, what's interesting about that, and I put it right back down and he didn't notice. Now, what's interesting about that is that I bet he really would have appreciated a high five.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw in his eyes, I correctly identified, this is a man who appreciates high fives.
Well,
This
he
is a
would
man
have
who knows
he
the
would
value
have
of
he
one.
would have appreciated it more than the common man, because he's missing a fucking arm.
Yes.
So if he had an arm to high five you with, he would just be like, "Yes, I want to use this hand as much as possible."
Yeah. Well, I could have switched up. I could have gone to the other arm. He was only missing one arm.
But it's
But
not the same.
I wasn't that quick on my feet, and I actually told that story in class. And the teacher was amused, and then he said, "You know what? Full points."
To be fair, that's an existential situation.
It's true. You got to look at that with existential goggles.
It's better than beer goggles.
Although sometimes it makes everything fuzzier all the same.
Touch fuzzy, get dizzy.
There's a memorable level
I fucking hate
and
that
an
level.
existential level.
It actually made me feel sick playing it. It's gross.
That's from the sequel, Super Mario World 2.
Incorrect. It's the first Yoshi game.
Yeah, but they called it Super Mario World 2.
That's because
on the
they
blogs.
had a momentary lapse in judgment, just like I had a momentary lapse in my voice right then.
This part used to stress me out when I was a kid. I could not handle this.
It's pretty stressful.
You just gotta pick your spots.
You just gotta pick your spots.
You just gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Sometimes, though, you have to know when to walk away and when to run.
Yeah. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
No,
There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
that's true.
Man muss wissen, wann zu halten.
Oh, jeez, that was dangerous.
Wissen, wann zu falten. Wissen,
Ooh.
wann man geht ab und wissen, wann man läuft. Und man selbst dein Geld nicht an den Tisch. Das sind viele Zeit verzahlen, wenn die Ende kommt. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. I don't think I am.
I don't speak Nazi, so could you translate for the audience?
That was the lyrics that we just sang in German.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sometimes I got real bored in German class and I just translated the song to the best of my ability.
There you go.
Especially when the song had been in my head for like a week fucking straight. So at one point, I don't remember how to do it, but the song, I want you to want me, that
Right.
did the same thing. I had the German version on paper for a time.
Whew.
That's how it's got to happen.
You're living dangerously.
That's how it's got to happen. And now it's not even quite over because this starts rising. You still got to go. You gotta go right now. That's a diarrhea commercial.
It's not funny, man. When that shit catches you.
It's not funny my brother died that way.
That's true. Boom.
Perfect 20.
So next time on Lame Chums, we will discuss how my brother actually died shitting himself to death and how that wasn't funny at all.
Next time.